In this video, we'll be looking at Accuplacer Arithmetic Sample Questions 1 to 5. So starting with number 1, we want to change this decimal into the fraction. And first we got to go ahead and write it as a fraction. So we're going to have 0.06, and we can divide anything by 1. So we're going to go ahead and just put it over 1. Now I want to move that decimal point over 2 places. I want to move it 1 over and then over again. For each time I move it over a decimal point, I got to multiply it by 10. So times 10 and another 10 times 10 and then another 10, which gives me 100. I'm going to have to multiply by 100 to move it over 2 decimal points. And if I do that to the top of the fraction, I also have to do it to the bottom of the fraction. So I go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 100 on the top and the bottom, in the numerator and the denominator. And again, the goal on the top was just to move it over, so I just get 6. We got rid of the decimal. If you see in the answer choices, there's no decimal. And then on the bottom, 1 times 100, we get 100. And that's where we get our answer, D. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, a club has 36 members. Each member donates 12 items for an auction. How many items will there be in the auction? So we have 36, and each of them are going to donate 12. So that's going to be a multiplication. We're going to have to multiply 36 times 12. And so we go ahead and do that. We get 2 times 6, which is 12. Carry the 1. 2 times 3, we get 6, plus 1, we get 72. And then we're going to go ahead and have to multiply the 1 times the 36. And this is moved over 1 place over, so we need a placeholder of 0 there. And 1 times 6, we'd get 6. And 1 times 3, we get 3. And then we go ahead and add those up. 2 and 0, we get 2. 6 and 7, we're going to get 13. Carry the 1 over, and we get 432. And that would be our answer choice D. Let's look at the next one. Number 3, what is the value of 4 over 10 plus 3 over 10? Now these two fractions have different numbers on the bottom. They have different denominators. In order to add them together, we're going to need to make them the same denominator. So let's transform the 4 over 10 into a denominator of 100. So 4 over 10, just like we did in number 1, I can multiply the top and bottom by any number. And in this case, if I want to make the 10 into 100, I'm going to multiply it by 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So I multiply by 10 top and bottom. And we get 40 over 400. Not 400, over 100. So we get 4 over 10 is equal to 40 over 100. Now we're ready to add that up. So we're going to replace this 4 over 10 with 40 over 100 plus the 3 over 100. And now that they're the same denominator, the same number on the bottom, we can add them up. 40 plus 3 and they have the same denominator over 100, and we get our answer choice, 43 over 100. Be careful here, they try to trick you a little bit with almost the same looking answer. All right, let's look at the next one. A conference planner has to put together 280 binders for attendees and another 31 binder for presenters. How many total binders did the planner put together? All right, so we're going to have to get the total. We're going to have to add these two up, 280 and 31. So we're going to go ahead and just add them up. 280 plus 31. 0 plus 1, we get 1. 3 and 8, we get 11. And we're going to have to carry over the 1. And 1 and 2, we get 3. So in total, we get 311 binders, and that'll be C. And let's look at the next one, number 5. A store stocked 150 cans of popcorn for a weekend sale. That weekend, 72 of the cans sold. What percentage of the cans of popcorn stocked were sold that weekend? All right. So we can make this a fraction. We can look at this a few ways. If I make this a fraction, 72 out of 150. Now this is a probably good candidate for getting rid of some of the answers and maybe using some approximation. 72 out of 150, well, that's almost, right, it's approximately half, right? 70, if we were to approximate, like 70 would be half of 140, right? That would be 50%. So this is pretty close to 50%. So based on that, none of the answer choices are really close to 50% except for C, right? 48%, pretty close to 50%. The other ones are all pretty far off. 72 out of 150 is definitely not 2%. So we can definitely eliminate 2%. 5%, same thing. This one's way too high. We can eliminate that one too. And if you're happy with that, you can stop there. We can also do it a little bit longer way if you want to figure it out some more. Let's look at that. Let's go back to our fraction of 72 over 150. Now we want to get this over 100 because that'll make it easy to see the percentage. Well, first let's get rid of any numbers that are not 0 at the bottom, basically. Make this an easier number. I'm going to just go ahead and multiply it by 2 because that'll get rid of the 15 and make it a nice, easy 300. So I'm going to multiply by 2 to make that a nice, easy 300 at the bottom. And then if I do that to the denominator, I have to do that to the numerator here. 2 times 2, I get 4. 2 times 7, I get 14. And now I want to get rid of, I want to actually make this out of 100. So I'm going to get rid of the 300 and divide by 3. Let's go ahead and divide this by 3. If I do that on the top or the bottom, I have to do that on the top as well, the numerator and the denominator. So let's go ahead and do that. My goal is to get this an easy 100. 300 divided by 3 would be 100. This one we have to do a little more work. Let's do that on the side. This 3 divided into 144. And we'll see that 3 goes into 14 4 times to get 12. And we get 2. 4 minus 2, we get 2. And we get the 4 coming down there. and then 3 goes into 24 8 times. And we get 24, and that goes in evenly. So we end up with that 48, and that's what we put over here, 48. And now we have a much easier one. We can clearly see that this is where we get that 48%. But again, we got that a lot earlier because we just kind of noticed, oh, it's close to 50%. None of the other ones are really close to 50%, so we can say that it's C right away. But if you want to work that out, here's the whole thing. Alright, so that'll be the end of this video, going through just the first 5 questions.